I've been debating wanting to discuss this for a couple of days, mainly because I wanted more details to come to light, things to be said, more information to kind of permeate the discussion at this point. So, to give you a synopsis, um, within the last couple of weeks, we've had allegations be made against voice actor Vic Mignogna. This is coming right after he was featured very prominently in Dragon Ball Super Broly. And, he's had other individuals in the industry say, oh, he touched me, and you have people recounting stories of him at conventions and other rhetoric. Um, I'm trying to think of the best way to see, because I want to sort of have this just go straight through. So, one of the individuals who accused him was his co-star, Monica Reel, who we'll get into her behavior a little bit later, but first she was a supporter of his, and then she said that he had touched her as well, and then she said she didn't owe us anything. I guess, proof or actual, like, going into what had happened. Um, Another voice actress, Jamie Marchi, if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, also accused him, and they're both very active on Twitter, Marchi more than Real, but you get the point. So I figured the best way to do this is to just kind of go through. Okay, what evidence do they have? Well, we have what they're saying as our evidence. I know this is starting to already sound kind of familiar. And if we go off of the things that have been stated as it relates to this story, you can kind of, because I gave Marchi credit, before seeing her descend into madness, where I said, okay, she's not someone who, for as much as I think that her stuff is kind of convoluted, she's at least telling you what happened. Now, we're going to go into why her behavior during this has been very strange and weird, but let's continue. You in the recourse for the situation we've seen, and we'll get to these posts over here in a little bit, was Funimation announcing that they wanted to give an update where they started taking him out of roles. He's been losing various things he was involved with. So that's been one of the forms of recourse. Um, but another side effect of this entire back and forth scandal, if you can call it, was I don't want to say expose, but a revelation, if you will, into the behavioral patterns of these voice actors. Real, for example, has, for the last couple of days, been tweeting this right here. Thanks for the tweet. I've screenshot it and sent it to my attorney and law enforcement. I will not be harassed. Have a nice night. She has said that multiple times to very many people. And keep in mind, she's responding to nameless, faceless individuals who are not notable, are not, people of interest as it relates to these claims. They're really just, they're as non-consequential as it relates to this as I am. They're just regular people that she's been sending this same thing over. You see it right there. Thanks for the tweet. I've sent to my attorney, law enforcement. Thanks for a tweet, just over and over again, repeatedly. Um, Again, to random people, and that's not supposed to be seen as kind of strange. And this also notably comes after she said that she would lay off Twitter at the advice of her lawyer, which, considering that this was yesterday, you can see how well that worked out for her. But her comments, for as ludicrous as they are, the idea that you're going to put someone in jail for simply saying, I don't believe you or I don't agree with you, is still not even the icing on the crap cake, as we'll refer to it. So the other main accuser, Jamie Marchi, and I'm trying to hold this up so you can see the full thing. She was asked, what do you want from these out of this stuff? And you see that right there. I want his head. I want his balls. I want him to feel an ounce of the pain he's caused others, and then choke on it. I want you to take his. So I'm not going to bother reading the whole thing, but you can see this, and that's kind of a bit vulgar. These were screenshot by a user who wanted to show how, I guess, vindictive and people, as you can actually see on convention. I'll read this one right here. What would Jesus do? Light him on fire and send him to hell. There's on this, Dragon Ball forum, there's a whole discussion where they ask, oh, what is she supposed to say about her accuser? And I do believe that people who are abused should deal with things different. Now, that's not to say I believe her, but that is to say that I'm not good. If you have someone who is abused by another person, I'm not going to expect them to act nice or pleasant about it. No, her strange behavior, her really weird kind of "what are you doing" moment has been over the last couple of days, where she's actually responding. You kind of just, wow, 14 seconds ago, been responding to, just like Monica, but almost on steroids as far as this kind of activity. Multiple different people who are not notable, are not famous, are not anyone other than you are. Basically, you could make an account right now and she'd probably send you something. These different gifs, videos, going back and forth with all these people. And I guess what I think is so strange about it, and see, I'm not one to say don't talk to fans or someone that is inquiring, whatever. But what I don't get is if this is some successful actor. Because when I think of being successful, I think of someone who has stuff they have to do. They're oftentimes busy. To sit there, like, understand my mind frame. What person who is so successful would have the time of day to sit here for an hour or two or three or four, just going back and forth with people on Twitter? Look at this. This is all in the last 2 hours with random people who just said something she didn't like. One of the words she's thrown around is that if you don't agree with her, you're an incel troll, which, I mean, there have been females that have been opposed to this as well, so I guess they don't like other women or something. Just the kind of like Red Scare stuff. Let's call you something and then hope it sticks. You've actually had another user who I will not name, they're relatively famous on the internet, say that alt-right people were defending Vic, which I guess you have to. Why do you have to have a certain political ideology to just not believe these accusations? If there's anything else I can show that's of note, and I'm going to close it out because there's not much attention here. The one of the tweets that I did find very interesting was from Chris Sabat, who said in response to these two users that were talking about this scandal, both of you need to stop getting your news from YouTube. And I guess it goes along that whole thing of you need reliable sources for when you see something that is notable. But ask yourself, what exactly am I not telling you in this video that has not had proof to go along with it? These are her tweets. All this stuff right here, you can go on her page. This is all right there. That Funimation statement I showed you before, it's on their page. So I don't see how, by this being a YouTube video, we're somehow not giving evidence. Everything I'm saying, I'm trying to back with a picture or proof of what I'm stating. But maybe the bigger issue is the fact that I am not a woman, that I don't have a vagina, so I'm not automatically believed when I go and say someone is doing something or otherwise stating a thing. I've talked about before, I have no vested interest in Mr. Mignogna as far as just being some fan of his. I liked him as Broly, but other than that, I didn't really know who he was. But I have a general distaste toward allegations being made against people because I've had stuff said about me that didn't have any proof with it, but people would believe it because they don't like you or they feel they have to take their little moral high ground of, oh, we must support the person who's saying they've been victim. And I understand that perspective, but it means that these people have disabled their own brains from being able to figure out, wait a second, if I'm going to believe that this guy is the person who did this without any proof, what's stopping someone from later, if I'm a male, saying the same thing about me? And I had a person who sat here just the other night and stated, and I quote, he believes 90% of all allegations. And I said, well, what the hell is that? Like, are you factoring 90% of all the ones you've ever heard of? Just like blanket statements, because I would never say I don't believe most or I believe most. I would say it needs to be based on what is stated and then what is shown. What proof we can muster up. You do this case by case, which I think, if we're trying to be fair to the both parties involved, would be something that everybody would agree to. But because we live in this ultra feminist society where you've seen men over the last year and a half during this Me Too thing, be accused left and right, and the evidence to go along with this, as Marcy said in one of her comments, it's actually the only one I don't show you, is that, oh, well, dozens of women are coming forward, they all lying. So basically what this means is that, yes, she is endorsing a society where you can have, in place of evidence, right, 30 people say, oh, this person touched me. And we're supposed to believe it because it's 30 people. Why would they lie? I mean, this is crazy. Like, not not allegations, whatever, but the fact that we legitimately have people who are smearing those who don't believe them, as opposed to trying to move forward with a conversation to actually get somewhere, like producing proof or having a police report or having a court sentencing date or just something that actually goes in the way of seeing what is the next step to proving which side is right. Instead of that, all of the people who don't support them, whether they're Vic supporters or they're just kind of casual, like myself, are smeared as being, as Marcy said, incel trolls. And then everyone who doesn't go along with this, in addition, is also, if they comment on Monica's page, going to be sent the same message of she screenshot and sent the tweet to the attorney. It's like we're all going to get sued over saying we don't believe you. I mean, this is America. And part of I always try to issue this warning. I don't think that you can have a bunch of people in a room together, usually without some shenanigan going on, because when you're at a convention or with some company and they have loads of people in the place, a lot of times not everyone who's there is necessarily a good or great person or someone that has your best interest in place. So one of the theories that was forwarded was that Monica had taken roles that Vic had, and supposedly this was going to result in her now suddenly approving of, what do you call it, his little, let me type this in right here. Basically, that's why she went from supporting him to opposing him, because it became convenient to her career to get his roles. Now, I don't, that's a theory. I haven't actually seen a source for that, so I'm not going to forward it as the main thing. But that is something that's been stated here. But, let's pretend that's not the case, right? And it's just the allegations. Again, as a man, or rather as a woman who, has any kind of feeling for any of the men in their lives, if you see them being accused by people with no proof other than word of mouth, or rather, if you go off of Marcy's theory, the numbers of mouths, i.e. 30 people saying you touched them, are you going to believe it without due process? In the U.S. currently, in spite of what the books will tell you, in the court of public opinion, it's guilty until proven innocent. And I guess people really don't know what it's like to have, I think we've gotten to a point where we feel so apologetic for what happened to women, 40, 50, 60 years ago during the supposed era where they had no voice, and certainly less than they have now, make no mistake about that, to where we feel so sick of what we were before that we try to overcompensate by believing any and everybody that comes forward and says that someone touched them. So that means throwing out the legal process and just kind of blindly backing whatever is stated by someone who happens to have a vagina. And I said this is a dangerous path to go down, because it means that we're effectively going to get to a point where if you happen to have a uterus, whatever you say about a man, again, in spite of what you show or don't show, i.e. proof, is going to be believed. And I was sitting here and I was trying to explain to this one person as well that because this is the person that said the 90% thing, if we went off of your logic, if someone said I did something to them, you're 9 times out of 10 most likely going to believe what they said. Now he tried to say, oh no, because da, da, da. I'm like, no. Anyone who knows me, when I forward this to them, these people who believe these allegations, anyone I know, when I say, oh, you would believe it if it was against me, says they wouldn't believe it. But again, that's only because you know me as an individual, and that's the point I've tried to make to these people. Whether you love Vic Mignogna or you don't, if it were your brother, your roommate, someone that you have a personal vested interest in, if that's the only person who can get you to go, hey, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't immediately jump the shark and believe the person who's come out with claims against them, that's dangerous. I mean, how many years do you have to know? Like, how long do you have to know someone? For how much do you have to know them for them to have what should be their right of innocent until proven guilty, instead of the reverse that's currently plaguing American society? So, I've spoken a couple of times about what happens when you get famous. Obviously, not myself, but just these different people having higher um, levels of profile. And I said I would not go to a convention. I wouldn't go to any of these little group meetings, because all it invites are theories, ideas, and speculation to be driven toward you. Think about it. You sit at home and you don't go and talk to any different women. They can't say you touched them. Now that screws you if you're trying to get the job. But my point is, if it's something you don't have to do, like go to a convention, then do it. Because a lot of this stuff is coming from people who said they saw him at the convention. It just seems like there's this underhand gender war that people don't want to recognize, and it only kind of comes out to the surface when you get these charges being made. So it's a dangerous path. This is why I avoid women for the mart. People have tried to say that they're not dangerous, but these claims are, and the fact that we have a society that says because you have a vagina we have to believe you, or we should believe you, is going to continue to screw over men. So, thank you for watching. And again, due process. People don't want to recognize that, but it's a shame.